When running a tiny home business, you need to communicate your tiny home designs with clients effectively. Firstly, when designing a customized tiny home for a client, it's crucial to be able to show your client what tiny house you will be building for them. They need to actually understand the design so you can tailor it to their unique needs. Secondly, when marketing your tiny home models, you need to best portray your models for brochures, social media content, and on your website. You need to make sure that your designs stand out from the competition. Tiny home designs are usually communicated in a few ways, like providing customers with PDF plans and perspective screenshots. Customers need to understand how to read plans and then fall in love with the designs based on drawings and screenshots. Of course, you can also create 3D renders of concept designs. You can show different reference images, or you can create a walkthrough video, or even show clients the design in real time, let's say on the 3D tiny house designer in a meeting. The 3D viewer takes it a step further and allows customers to explore your tiny home designs in 3D on any device in their own time. The 3D viewer helps you communicate a customized design to clients during your custom tiny house design process. And you can market staple models effectively on your website, brochures, and social media and genuinely engage potential clients. You can create a 3D walkthrough for any of your projects in a few clicks using 3D Tiny House Designer. Once you have set it up, you get a link to share with your clients or embed in your marketing content and website. The 3D viewer plays a crucial part to provide a polished sales experience to customers that builds trust. It allows you to improve communication between you and your clients to save you time avoiding countless back and forths, and you can reduce time spent on creating content to explain tiny home designs to clients. Ultimately, it helps you sell more tiny homes. Here's how it works. The client-facing 3D viewer has a very simple interface: the 3D tiny house and the 3D viewpoints. To rotate the view, all you need to do is drag with a left or right click with a mouse or do a swiping motion on a phone or tablet. To navigate the tiny house, click the 3D viewpoints to jump through key parts of the tiny house. You can set up a 3D viewer right in 3D Tiny House Designer Business. The first thing that you'll want to do is load up the model that you want to create the 3D viewer for, and then you can click on the 3D viewer button in the top right here. On the left is the Views bar. The Views bar allows you to view all of the views that you have already set up and, of course, create new views for your 3D viewer. Every 3D viewer has an exterior start view. This is already set up for you on the view that you set up when you're just loading into the 3D viewer for the first time, but you can of course update this later. Now let's create a new view. All you need to do is move the camera into the view that you want to have that new view from. So let's say we want to showcase the kitchen. All we need to do is go into the kitchen here by moving our camera, and then we click the new view button over here on the left in the views bar. If you want to update a view, all you need to do is click on the corresponding view in the views bar. Let's say we'll go back to the kitchen here, and then let's say we want to change the camera for this view here from the left or from the right here to the left a little bit. All we need to do is move the camera and then click the update view camera here, and it will update to this new view. When updating a camera, what you can do as well, rather than using the regular camera to move around, you can also switch over to the walkthrough camera. It just really depends on which one you prefer using, but the walkthrough camera might just give you a little bit of extra leeway to place the view exactly where you want it, just because it is a little bit more fine-tuned than the regular view. To quickly go back to the start view, one piece of advice, because the 3D view for the start view is the first one that users will see, it is very important to set it to a view that is the most attractive side of the tiny house. So I would say it's probably the front left side here of the tiny house, maybe this side over here, but let's say we want to move it down here on eye level. All we need to do is move the view and then again update the view camera, and you will see that the start view for this 3D viewer will now start on this perspective over here. We can also update the viewpoint height. When you are placing a 3D view for the first time, you will see that the viewpoint is placed somewhere in 3D space, and it will be at the space or at the place where you have rotate the camera to. What you can do, if you want to line up all of the 3D viewpoints, you can click on this view here and say, okay, maybe we want to have this at 1000 millimeters. And we can do the same thing with this one here. We'll place it down to 1000 millimeters as well, and you will see that the view will update to the correct height here. So that way it's a little bit easier. So that way it's a little bit nicer to have all of the views at the same height. One thing you can do as well, you can change the viewpoint icon. So rather than only keeping it at this map pin here, we can change that into a different icon. So let's say this here shows the kitchen, so we can set it over to the kitchen. Let's say we have this exterior point here, we'll select this one, and then we'll set that over, let's say, to the exterior point here. If you want to delete a 3D view, you would need to click on the view here, or you can also select a view by clicking on it, and then all you need to do is click the delete viewpoint over here, and it will remove it from the views list here on the left. So let's go through the process of setting up a view for this tiny house. So what I would do, I would first start out by looking at the exterior, which is our starting view. Then maybe what I would do, I would place an exterior view next to the entrance. So this is our entrance view, like this, and we'll set it over to the entrance viewpoint here. We'll maybe place this point height at 1000. Then we'll place a new point, let's say for the kitchen. So it's looking at the kitchen here. One thing that I always want to make sure is that this view is kind of at eye level, so it makes sense for the viewer. Let's say we'll do this here. We'll set that one to the kitchen, set it to 1000. So that's 1000 off the full ground. So that way, in this case here, the trailer is 600 mils high, and then the view is another 400 millimeters offset off the ground, so wherever that makes sense. So maybe this one here is the kitchen, and then let's say we'll do a bedroom view like this. So we'll grab this one, maybe we'll set this one a bit higher, maybe at 2000, because it is a bit higher in this case. There we go, we've got the bedroom view, and now we can go to the next one. So let's say we've got a loft view here, so we'll change it to this one. There we go, and we'll maybe say this could be, let's say this could be bedroom as well. There we go, and maybe we'll set this to 3500 like that, and then we'll move this camera down here to the bathroom. So maybe this is a good angle from the bathroom. There we go, and we'll select the bathroom over here. So one thing that you'll see is I always want to make sure that the view is kind of placed within the room rather than placing it in the wall, so that way the view is not glitching for the end user. So now we've created our 3D viewer, and you can see that we have a few different views that we can click through and move from one place to the other. There we go, perfect. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Now that we've created our tour, I want to make sure, of course, that we can save this view. So all I'll do here is click the save button, so we'll just wait for that to save. Okay, so now it's time to share the 3D viewer. So we'll click on the copy 3D viewer link button here, and you will see that we've got a 3D viewer link here. So we can click on that and copy all of the text, or we can just simply click on the copy link button here, which copies the 3D viewer link to my clipboard. And now to test out that it works, I will just open a new tab in Chrome or whatever browser that you're using, and I will paste this view in here, and now I can open it up. Okay, great. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Awesome, there we go. So this is now my 3D viewer. So you'll see that this is now not in the same, I guess, interface that we had before, but this is the client-facing 3D viewer. So all you can see here is the tiny house and all of the 3D viewpoints that we've created, together with a couple of nice shadows to make it look a little bit more realistic. So now, as the client here, I can now click on the different parts of the tiny house and look through it step by step. So let's say we'll have a look at the loft here, great, or the bed over here, fantastic, or maybe we'll click on the kitchen. And now we have a really cool overview of this tiny house. And of course, what we might want to do as well, we want to update this 3D viewer. So what we can do is we can go back into the 3D designer and make changes to the 3D viewer. So let's say we want to change all of our map our tour points here to just regular pins like this. So we can just click on, actually what I'll just do, I'll just click on one of each one by one, like this here. So let's say this will be a pin, this will be a pin, this will be a pin, and there we go. So now all of them are pins, and now let's say we'll just zoom out a little bit, and maybe we want to add more viewpoints. So let's say we actually want to add a viewpoint over here behind the kitchen like this, so we can actually move around a little bit more. So we'll set this one to 1000 here maybe, then let's say we'll add another pin over here. There we go, and then we'll pop this to 1000 as well, like that. And then maybe we want to have another one here, like this. We'll grab another one, we'll set this to 1000, perfect. And then maybe we want to add another one over here, like this. And then we'll place this one to 1000 as well. There we go. And now we have a bunch of different views that we have already set. We'll just want to make sure that this one here is actually at the correct height. There you go. So this looks, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Awesome. So now what we can do, we can of course save this 3D viewer and make sure that everything is saving that, or the changes that I've just made. And now what I can do is I can go into the 3D viewer link and just simply reload it. There we go. Awesome, so now what you'll see that we have a bunch of different 3D views that we can click through. So we can now click on the loft here, for example. We can click through the bathroom, and we have a really cool walkthrough that we can present to the client so they can really fully understand what this tiny house looks like. Alright, now let's talk about the use cases for the 3D viewer. Let's say you want to use the 3D viewer for marketing. My advice would be, if you have different staple designs within your model range, it would make sense to create a 3D viewer for every single one of these staple designs. What you can then do, you can use a 3D viewer and embed it on the website showcasing this staple design, or as well as the marketing material that you're creating around that staple design. Let's say you've got different brochures or banners. So let's go through one by one. The first one would be for the website. You can embed a 3D viewer on your website in two different ways. The first one would be to link the 3D viewer with a button. For example, what you can do, you can have a dedicated page of a staple model, and then on that page you would create a new button that would invite viewers or invite users to view the design in 3D or do a 3D walkthrough of that design. So this would be a prominent part of your page to make sure that it is not missed. And then the second option would be to directly embed the 3D viewer on your website. So what you can do, you can use an iframe component to directly embed it on the page, and all you would need to do is create the iframe component and link to the 3D viewer link to make sure that it then loads up when the web page loads. You can of course use the same technique to link a 3D viewer in an interactive PDF brochure, for example, as well. Another option would be to embed a 3D viewer in brochures or banners, like I already said before. So you can invite potential customers to check out your model's 3D viewer by creating a scannable QR code. So you can use a free QR code generator like Bitly to link it out, and you would then add that QR code to brochures at expos or printed pull-out banners that are dedicated to that specific model, which provides an engaging experience that would stand out from the competition. The 3D viewers can of course also be used in a customized design process. When you're working with clients, you can share this 3D viewer with them via email. This way they will be able to explore their future tiny home in their own time that you have designed for them, and that helps them get excited about it, share it with their friends and family, which makes just for a really unforgettable sales experience, which helps you stand out from the competition that might not be doing this. And clients of course can understand the 3D design easily, making sure that they actually get what they imagined in the first place, and you will build what they imagined. And if a client has feedback, you can just quickly make changes to the design in 3D, in the 3D Tiny House Designer, and then any updates that you make, of course, update in the 3D viewer directly as well. So all the client would need to do is reload the 3D viewer and they would already see the updated design. So this cuts down a ton of time that you would otherwise spend explaining the design to your clients, which would cause a delay and of course a very long feedback loop, rather than just you quickly moving through and creating the design and the client directly seeing what that update looks like. So altogether this speeds up your sales and design process significantly.